The security camera shows 23-year-old Brooklyn Martinez laughing with customers at Shoreline Bar just minutes before her killer walked through that door. The woman who's about to enter this frame. She's carrying a kitchen knife in her purse, and she's been planning this brutal attack for 3 weeks. But here's what makes this case truly horrifying. Brooklyn had no idea that her secret affair with a married man would cost her everything. The woman stalking her wasn't just jealous. She was completely unhinged, and what she did next would shock even veteran detectives who thought they'd seen it all. What you're about to hear goes way beyond a simple love triangle. This is about obsession, digital stalking, and a murder so calculated it would make your blood run cold. Before we dive into this disturbing case, I want to thank my incredible viewers who've been supporting this channel. Your comments and engagement mean the world to me. If you're new here and you love true crime content that goes deep into the psychology behind these cases, please hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell. Trust me, you won't want to miss what's coming next. Brooklyn Martinez was everything you'd want in a bartender at Shoreline Bar in Tampa, Florida. At 23, she had this infectious laugh that could light up the entire room. Customers didn't just come for the drinks, they came for Brooklyn's warm smile and her ability to remember everyone's name and their usual order. She was like sunshine, her best friend Jessica would later tell police. Brooklyn made everyone feel special. She had this way of making you feel like you were the only person in the room. But behind that bright smile, Brooklyn was harboring a dangerous secret. For the past 6 months, she'd been having an affair with a married man, 35-year-old Tyler Richardson, a successful real estate developer who lived in an upscale neighborhood with his wife and 2 young children. Tyler would show up at Shoreline Bar 3 times a week, always ordering the same whiskey neat, always staying until closing time. What started as harmless flirting had evolved into secret text messages, then late-night phone calls, and eventually passionate encounters in Brooklyn's apartment after her shifts ended. Brooklyn knew it was wrong. She knew Tyler was married. But she was young, and Tyler made her feel like she was living in a fairy tale. He showered her with expensive gifts, took her to fancy restaurants in neighboring cities where they wouldn't be recognized, and promised her that he was going to leave his wife. Soon, he'd whisper to her, "Just give me a little more time." But someone else was watching. Someone who had been tracking every gift, every secret date, every lie Tyler told. Someone who had been building a case against Brooklyn like a prosecutor preparing for trial. And that someone was about to make Brooklyn pay the ultimate price. Tyler Richardson seemed to have it all. A thriving real estate business, a beautiful home in Tampa's exclusive Hyde Park neighborhood, and what appeared to be a perfect family. But Tyler was a master manipulator who had been living a double life for years. He'd tell Brooklyn that his marriage was loveless, that he and his wife were basically roommates. He'd show her fake text messages that made it seem like divorce papers were being filed. He even went so far as to remove his wedding ring during their dates and claim he'd already moved out of the family home. All lies, but the most dangerous lie was the one he told about his wife, 31-year-old Vanessa Richardson. Tyler painted Vanessa as cold, distant, and emotionally unavailable. He told Brooklyn that Vanessa wouldn't care if she found out about the affair because their marriage was already over in everything but name. The truth? Vanessa was deeply, obsessively in love with her husband. She'd given up her career as a marketing executive to raise their children and support Tyler's business. She planned elaborate date nights, sent him love letters, and constantly posted about their perfect marriage on social media. Vanessa had built her entire identity around being Tyler's wife. Without that, she believed she was nothing. So when Vanessa started noticing the late nights, the mysterious phone calls, and the way Tyler's eyes would light up when he looked at his phone, she didn't confront him. Instead, she started investigating. And what she discovered about Brooklyn Martinez would transform her from a devoted wife into a cold-blooded killer. It started innocently enough. Vanessa noticed that Tyler had been coming home later from work, claiming he was networking at various bars around Tampa. When she asked which bars, he'd give vague answers or change the subject. So Vanessa did what any suspicious wife might do. She started following him. The first night, she parked across the street from Shoreline Bar and watched Tyler through the window. She saw him talking to a young, beautiful bartender, with long, dark hair and a bright smile. She watched as this woman laughed at Tyler's jokes, touched his arm while serving him drinks, and looked at him with obvious affection. That woman was Brooklyn Martinez. Most wives would have stormed into the bar and caused a scene. But Vanessa was calculating. She wanted evidence. She wanted to know exactly what she was dealing with before she made her move. So she went home and started researching. Within hours, Vanessa had found Brooklyn's Instagram account, her Facebook page, her LinkedIn profile, and even her old high school yearbook photos. She discovered Brooklyn's full name, her address, her work schedule, her favorite restaurants, and the names of her closest friends. But Vanessa didn't stop there. She created fake social media accounts to follow Brooklyn's every move. She learned that Brooklyn loved hiking, that she had a rescued dog named Charlie, and that she posted photos of expensive gifts without mentioning who had given them to her. Those gifts? Vanessa recognized them. The diamond earrings Tyler had claimed were a business expense. The designer handbag he'd said was for a client. The weekend getaway to St. Augustine that he'd told Vanessa was a work conference. Every lie was documented. Every secret date was tracked. Every intimate moment between Tyler and Brooklyn was cataloged like evidence in a criminal case. And with each discovery, Vanessa's love for Tyler twisted into something darker, something dangerous. For 3 weeks, Vanessa Richardson lived a double life that rivaled her husband's deception. During the day, she played the perfect wife and mother, making breakfast for Tyler, helping their children with homework, and maintaining the facade of domestic bliss. But at night, after Tyler fell asleep, Vanessa would sit in their home office with multiple computer screens open, monitoring Brooklyn's every move, like a security guard watching surveillance footage. She knew Brooklyn's schedule better than Brooklyn knew it herself. She knew that Brooklyn worked Tuesday through Saturday, that she always grabbed coffee at the Starbucks on Kennedy Boulevard before her shifts, and that she went to pure bar classes every Sunday morning. Vanessa started showing up at these places. She'd sit in the corner of the Starbucks, watching Brooklyn order her usual iced caramel macchiato. She'd take the pure bar class directly behind Brooklyn, studying her every movement, listening to her conversations with other students. She seemed nice enough, Brooklyn's yoga instructor would later tell police. But there was something off about her. She never talked to anyone except to ask questions about Brooklyn. Where did she work? Did she have a boyfriend? It was weird. But Vanessa's obsession wasn't just about gathering information. She was building a psychological profile of her target. She wanted to understand what Tyler saw in Brooklyn, what made this 23-year-old bartender worth destroying their marriage. And the more Vanessa learned, the more she hated Brooklyn Martinez. In Vanessa's mind, Brooklyn wasn't just the other woman. She was a predator who had seduced an innocent married man. She was a home wrecker who was destroying the lives of 2 innocent children. She was evil incarnate, and she deserved to be punished. The turning point came when Vanessa discovered Tyler's secret phone. Hidden in his office desk, this second phone contained months of intimate text messages between Tyler and Brooklyn. Messages that revealed the depth of their relationship and Tyler's promises to leave his wife. One message in particular sent Vanessa into a rage that would ultimately cost Brooklyn her life. "I can't wait to start our life together," Tyler had written. "Vanessa means nothing to me. She's just an obligation. You're my future." Reading those words, Vanessa Richardson made a decision that would change everything. She wasn't going to lose her husband to some young bartender. She was going to eliminate the competition permanently. Vanessa Richardson was not an impulsive person. She was methodical, intelligent, and patient. If she was going to commit murder, she was going to do it right. She spent hours researching the layout of Shoreline Bar, studying the security cameras, and timing the staff's routines. She knew that the bar's back exit led to a dimly lit alley, that the security camera had a blind spot near the dumpster, and that Brooklyn always took her breaks alone in that alley. But Vanessa's plan was more sophisticated than simply ambushing Brooklyn in a dark alley. She wanted to confront her victim face to face. She wanted Brooklyn to know why she was about to die. So Vanessa started visiting Shoreline Bar as a customer, always sitting in Brooklyn's section, always ordering the same drink, a vodka martini with extra olives. She'd engage Brooklyn in small talk, complimenting her earrings, asking about her weekend plans, and slowly building a rapport. She was really nice, Brooklyn would tell her roommate. A little intense, but nice. She seemed lonely. I felt bad for her. Brooklyn had no idea she was serving drinks to her killer. During these visits, Vanessa was mapping out the perfect crime. She timed how long it took Brooklyn to prepare different drinks, noted when the bar was busiest and when it was quiet, and identified the exact moment when Brooklyn would be most vulnerable. That moment came every Tuesday night at 9:30 p.m., when Brooklyn would take her dinner break and step into the back alley to eat and scroll through her phone. She'd be alone for exactly 15 minutes, hidden from view of the main street, with only one security camera that could be easily avoided. Vanessa had found her window. On the Tuesday night that would be Brooklyn's last, Vanessa sat in her car across the street from Shoreline Bar, watching the entrance and checking her phone for the time. In her purse was a 10-inch kitchen knife that she'd purchased with cash from a hardware store 3 towns away. She'd practiced the attack in her garage, stabbing a mannequin over and over until the motion felt natural. She'd planned her escape route, her alibi, and even her emotional response for when police came to question her. But as Vanessa sat in that car, watching Brooklyn laugh and smile with customers through the bar's windows, she felt something she hadn't expected, a moment of doubt. For just a second, Vanessa saw Brooklyn not as the evil homewrecker she'd built up in her mind, but as a young woman who had no idea she was about to die, a woman who was probably as much a victim of Tyler's manipulation as Vanessa herself. But that moment of humanity was quickly crushed by months of rage and obsession. At 9:25 p.m., Vanessa Richardson got out of her car and walked toward the bar's back entrance. Brooklyn Martinez had 5 minutes left to live. Brooklyn Martinez pushed through the back door of Shoreline Bar, grateful for the cool night air after hours in the humid, crowded interior. She had a turkey sandwich in one hand and her phone in the other, ready to scroll through Instagram during her 15-minute break. It had been a good night. The bar was busy, but not overwhelming. Her tips were adding up nicely, and she'd gotten a sweet text from Tyler saying he missed her. Life felt good. She settled onto the wooden crate she always used as a makeshift chair, back against the brick wall, and took a bite of her sandwich. The alley was quiet except for the distant sounds of traffic and muffled music from inside the bar. Brooklyn had no idea that Vanessa Richardson was watching her from the shadows, knife in hand, heart pounding with anticipation. Brooklyn? Brooklyn looked up from her phone, surprised to see one of her regular customers standing in the alley. It was the woman who always ordered vodka martinis, the one who seemed a little lonely but was always polite. "Oh, hi," Brooklyn said, standing up and brushing crumbs from her apron. "I didn't hear you come out here. Did you need something?" Vanessa stepped closer, her hand still hidden in her purse. "I need to talk to you about something important." "About Tyler Richardson." Brooklyn's smile faltered. The name sent a chill down her spine. How did this woman know about Tyler? "I'm sorry, I don't know what you're talking about," Brooklyn said, but her voice betrayed her nervousness. "Don't lie to me," Vanessa said, her voice calm but her eyes burning with fury. "I know everything. The gifts, the dates, the promises he made to you. I know about the apartment on Bayshore Boulevard where you meet him. I know about the weekend in St. Augustine. I know about every lie he told you about me." Brooklyn's heart started racing. "Who are you?" "I'm Vanessa Richardson," she said, pulling the knife from her purse. "I'm Tyler's wife." 9:35 p.m. Brooklyn's scream echoed through the alley as she saw the knife, but there was nowhere to run. Vanessa was blocking the only exit, and the brick wall was at Brooklyn's back. "Please," Brooklyn whispered, pressing herself against the wall. "I didn't know. I mean, I knew he was married, but he told me you two were getting divorced. He said you didn't love each other anymore." Vanessa laughed bitterly. "He lied to you just like he lied to me. But you're not innocent in this, Brooklyn. You knew he had a family. You knew he had children. And you decided to steal him anyway." "I never meant for anyone to get hurt," Brooklyn pleaded, tears streaming down her face. "I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I'll end it. I promise. I'll never see him again." "You're right," Vanessa said, raising the knife. "You'll never see him again." 9:37 p.m. The first stab went into Brooklyn's shoulder as she tried to defend herself. She screamed again, but the sound was muffled by the bar's music and the late-night traffic. Brooklyn fought back, grabbing Vanessa's wrist and trying to wrestle the knife away. But Vanessa was driven by months of rage and obsession, and she was stronger than she looked. "This is what you get for destroying my family," Vanessa hissed as she stabbed Brooklyn again, this time in the chest. Brooklyn collapsed to the ground, blood pooling around her as she gasped for breath. She looked up at Vanessa, confusion and terror in her eyes. "Why?" she whispered. "Because you took everything from me," Vanessa said, standing over her victim. "And now I'm taking everything from you." The final stab pierced Brooklyn's heart. She died looking up at the stars, probably thinking about Tyler, probably wondering why her life had to end this way. 9:45 p.m. to 8 minutes later, Brooklyn's co-worker Jamie went to check on her in the alley. The scream that followed brought every customer and employee running to the back of the bar. Brooklyn Martinez was found lying in a pool of blood, her phone still clutched in her hand, her sandwich scattered across the dirty alley floor. She was 23 years old, beloved by everyone who knew her, and she was gone. By the time paramedics arrived, there was nothing they could do. Brooklyn had been dead for several minutes. As police secured the crime scene, Vanessa Richardson sat in her car 3 blocks away, methodically cleaning blood from under her fingernails. She felt empty. Not satisfied, not relieved, just empty. She'd expected to feel victorious, but instead she felt nothing at all. Detective Maria Santos had seen a lot of violent crimes in her 15 years with the Tampa Police Department, but the scene in the alley behind Shoreline Bar was particularly brutal. The victim had been stabbed 7 times, with defensive wounds on her hands and arms indicating she'd fought for her life. "This wasn't random," Detective Santos told her partner, Detective James Chun. "This was personal. Someone wanted this girl dead." The security camera footage from the bar showed Brooklyn taking her break at 9:30 p.m., but the camera's angle couldn't capture the back corner of the alley where the murder occurred. However, a traffic camera 1 block away had captured something interesting: a woman in dark clothing walking quickly away from the alley at 9:42 p.m. The image was grainy, but it was something. The first person Detective Santos interviewed was Jamie, the co-worker who'd found Brooklyn's body. Jamie was still shaking, mascara streaked down her face, barely able to speak. She was just on her break, Jamie kept repeating. She was just eating her sandwich. Who would do this to Brooklyn? Everyone loved her. But as Detective Santos talked to more employees and customers, a picture began to emerge. Several people mentioned seeing a woman who'd been coming to the bar regularly over the past few weeks, always sitting in Brooklyn's section, always asking questions about Brooklyn's personal life. "She seemed nice enough," said Tom, a regular customer, "but she was intense, you know. She'd ask weird questions about Brooklyn's schedule, whether she had a boyfriend, stuff like that. It made me uncomfortable." The bartender who'd been working alongside Brooklyn that night remembered the woman clearly. She ordered vodka martinis with extra olives, always paid cash, always left big tips. But she never took her eyes off Brooklyn. It was like she was studying her. While Detective Santos was interviewing witnesses, Detective Chun was diving into Brooklyn's digital life. Her phone had been damaged in the attack, but the forensics team was able to recover most of her data. What they found was a secret relationship with Tyler Richardson, a married real estate developer. Months of text messages revealed an intimate affair, with Tyler promising to leave his wife for Brooklyn. "We need to talk to this Tyler guy," Detective Chun told his partner. "And we need to talk to his wife." But when they looked up Vanessa Richardson's information, they found something interesting. Her credit card had been used at a hardware store in Clearwater just 3 days before the murder. She'd purchased a set of kitchen knives, paying cash for the transaction but using her card for a small pack of gum, a purchase that created a digital record of her presence at the store. The case broke open when Detective Santos reviewed the traffic camera footage more carefully. The woman walking away from the alley at 9:42 p.m. was wearing distinctive shoes, expensive designer heels that were clearly visible in the footage. A canvass of local shoe stores led them to Nordstrom, where a sales associate remembered selling those exact shoes to a woman who matched the description of the bar customer. The woman had paid with a credit card, Vanessa Richardson's credit card. When detectives obtained Vanessa's phone records, they found something that made their blood run cold. She'd been using location services to track Tyler's movements, and her phone had pinned cell towers near Shoreline Bar on 17 different occasions over the past month. She'd been stalking Brooklyn for weeks. On a sunny Thursday morning, exactly 1 week after Brooklyn's murder, Detective Santos and Detective Chun knocked on the door of the Richardson family's Hyde Park home. It was Vanessa who answered, dressed in yoga clothes and holding a cup of coffee, looking like any other suburban mom. "Mrs. Richardson? We're with Tampa Police. We'd like to ask you some questions about Brooklyn Martinez." Vanessa's face didn't change, but Detective Santos noticed her grip tighten on the coffee cup. "I don't know who that is," Vanessa said. "She was the bartender at Shoreline Bar," Detective Chun said. "We have witnesses who say you were a regular customer there. You always sat in her section." For just a moment, Vanessa's composure cracked. "I may have been there a few times. I don't really remember." "You were there the night she was murdered," Detective Santos said. "We have your credit card records. You purchased gas at the station across the street at 8:47 p.m. Vanessa stepped back, her hand moving to close the door. "I think I need to call my lawyer." "You can do that," Detective Santos said, "but we have a warrant for your arrest. Vanessa Richardson, you're under arrest for the murder of Brooklyn Martinez." At first, Vanessa maintained her innocence. She claimed she'd never heard of Brooklyn Martinez, that she'd never been to Shoreline Bar, and that she'd been home with her children on the night of the murder. But the evidence was overwhelming. The security footage from the bar showed her clearly. Her credit card placed her at the scene. Her phone records showed months of digital stalking. And most damning of all, forensics had found Brooklyn's blood on the shoes Vanessa had been wearing that night. After 6 hours of interrogation, Vanessa Richardson finally broke down. "She was destroying my family," Vanessa said through tears. "She was going to take Tyler away from me, away from our children. I couldn't let that happen." "So you decided to kill her?" Detective Santos asked. "I just wanted to scare her," Vanessa insisted. "I wanted her to leave Tyler alone. But when I saw her in that alley looking so young and innocent, acting like she was the victim, I lost control." "You stabbed her 7 times, Detective Chun said. "That's not losing control. That's murder." Vanessa looked up at the detective, her eyes empty. "She took everything from me. My husband, my marriage, my future. She deserved to die." While Vanessa was confessing to murder, Tyler Richardson was falling apart. He'd lost his mistress, his wife was going to prison, and his children were asking questions he couldn't answer. In a statement to police, Tyler admitted to the affair but claimed he'd never told Brooklyn he was leaving his wife. He insisted that he'd been trying to end the relationship for weeks, but Brooklyn had been obsessive and clingy. It was a lie, of course. The text messages on his secret phone proved that Tyler had been the one making promises and declarations of love. But Tyler was trying to save his reputation and his business, even if it meant destroying Brooklyn's memory. "He's a coward," Brooklyn's sister would later say. "He started this whole thing, but he's letting Brooklyn take the blame even after she's dead." The trial of Vanessa Richardson began 6 months after Brooklyn's murder. The prosecution, led by Assistant District Attorney Rebecca Martinez, painted a picture of a woman consumed by jealousy and obsession. "Ladies and gentlemen of the jury," Martinez said in her opening statement, "this case is about a woman who decided that if she couldn't have her husband, nobody could. Vanessa Richardson didn't just kill Brooklyn Martinez, she hunted her like prey." The prosecution presented overwhelming evidence. Security footage showed Vanessa stalking Brooklyn for weeks. Digital records proved she'd been tracking Tyler's movements and monitoring Brooklyn's social media. And most damning of all, Vanessa's own confession detailed her premeditation and planning. This wasn't a crime of passion, Martinez argued. This was a calculated execution carried out by a woman who had months to reconsider her actions but chose murder instead. Vanessa's defense attorney, David Kumar, faced an impossible task. The evidence was overwhelming, and his client had already confessed. His only hope was to convince the jury that Vanessa had been driven to temporary insanity by her husband's betrayal. "My client is not a monster," Kumar argued. "She is a woman who was pushed to the breaking point by a husband who lied to her for months and a mistress who knew she was destroying a family." The defense called psychiatrists who testified about Vanessa's mental state, describing her as a woman who had built her entire identity around being a wife and mother. When that identity was threatened, they argued, she snapped. But the prosecution countered with evidence of Vanessa's careful planning. The fake social media accounts, the weeks of stalking, the premeditated purchase of the murder weapon. None of this suggested temporary insanity. The most powerful moment of the trial came when Brooklyn's family was allowed to address the court. Brooklyn's mother, Maria Martinez, stood at the podium with tears streaming down her face. "My daughter was 23 years old," she said, her voice breaking. "She had her whole life ahead of her. She was kind, generous, and full of love. Yes, she made a mistake by getting involved with a married man. But that mistake didn't deserve the death penalty." Brooklyn's sister, Carmen, was more direct. "Vanessa Richardson is sitting here acting like she's the victim, but she's not. She's a murderer who took my sister away from everyone who loved her. Brooklyn will never get married, never have children, never get to live her dreams. And for what? Because her husband was a liar and a cheat?" After 3 days of deliberation, the jury returned with their verdict. "We, the jury, find the defendant, Vanessa Richardson, guilty of murder in the first degree." Vanessa showed no emotion as the verdict was read. She simply stared straight ahead, her hands folded in her lap. But in the gallery, Brooklyn's family collapsed in tears of relief. Justice had been served, but it couldn't bring Brooklyn back. At her sentencing hearing, Vanessa Richardson was given the opportunity to address the court. Many expected her to show remorse, to apologize to Brooklyn's family, to express regret for her actions. Instead, Vanessa stood and delivered a chilling statement that would haunt everyone in the courtroom. "I'm not sorry," she said, her voice steady and cold. "Brooklyn Martinez knew what she was doing when she decided to destroy my family. She knew Tyler was married. She knew he had children. And she didn't care. She got what she deserved." The gasps from the gallery were audible. Even the judge seemed shocked by Vanessa's complete lack of remorse. "Mrs. Richardson," Judge Patricia Williams said, "in my 30 years on the bench, I have never encountered a defendant who showed such callous disregard for human life. You have demonstrated no remorse, no understanding of the gravity of your actions, and no acknowledgement of the pain you have caused." Judge Williams sentenced Vanessa Richardson to life in prison without the possibility of parole. The case had far-reaching consequences beyond the courtroom. Tyler Richardson's real estate business collapsed as clients abandoned him. His children, now living with his deceased wife's parents, would grow up knowing their mother was a murderer, and their father was the catalyst for the tragedy. Shoreline Bar, where Brooklyn had worked and died, closed permanently 3 months after the murder. The owners said they couldn't bear to continue operating in the shadow of such violence. But perhaps the most lasting impact was on domestic violence awareness in the Tampa area. Brooklyn's family established the Brooklyn Martinez Foundation, which provides resources for people dealing with stalking and obsessive behavior. Today, Vanessa Richardson sits in a maximum security prison in Florida, serving her life sentence. According to prison officials, she has shown no remorse for her actions and rarely speaks to other inmates. She spends her days reading, writing letters to her children, and maintaining her innocence to anyone who will listen. In her mind, she's still the victim of Brooklyn's seduction and Tyler's betrayal. Tyler, meanwhile, has remarried and moved to another state, trying to escape the shadow of the tragedy he helped create. He rarely speaks about Brooklyn or Vanessa, preferring to pretend that chapter of his life never existed. But Brooklyn's family will never have that luxury. They live every day with the knowledge that their daughter, sister, and friend was murdered by a woman who felt entitled to take her life. The murder of Brooklyn Martinez by Vanessa Richardson is a tragic reminder of how quickly jealousy and obsession can turn deadly. This case highlights several important warning signs that we all need to recognize. Digital stalking is real and dangerous. Vanessa's months-long campaign of online surveillance shows how social media can be weaponized by unstable individuals. If someone is monitoring your every move, asking invasive questions about your personal life, or showing up at places you frequent, trust your instincts and seek help. Secret relationships carry hidden dangers. While Brooklyn couldn't have predicted Vanessa's violent reaction, the secrecy surrounding her affair with Tyler made her vulnerable. When relationships are hidden, it's harder for friends and family to recognize warning signs or provide protection. The importance of mental health awareness cannot be overstated. Vanessa's obsession with maintaining her identity as Tyler's wife consumed her rational thinking and led to tragic consequences. If you or someone you know is struggling with obsessive thoughts or behaviors, professional help is available. Finally, this case shows us that domestic violence doesn't always follow traditional patterns. Vanessa wasn't Tyler's victim, she was his wife. But her sense of ownership over Tyler and her willingness to use violence to maintain control over him mirrors many domestic violence situations. Brooklyn Martinez was a young woman with hopes, dreams, and people who loved her. She made a mistake by getting involved with a married man, but that mistake didn't deserve the death penalty. Her story serves as a reminder that behind every true crime case is a real person whose life was cut short by senseless violence. Brooklyn's story is a heartbreaking reminder that jealousy and obsession can turn deadly without warning. If you or someone you know is dealing with stalking, threatening behavior, or feels unsafe in any way, please reach out for help immediately. I've included resources for domestic violence support and stalking prevention in the description below. What did you think about this case? Were there warning signs that should have been recognized earlier? How could this tragedy have been prevented? Share your thoughts in the comments below, but please remember to be respectful when discussing this sensitive topic. If this deep dive into the psychology behind true crime opened your eyes to the reality of domestic violence and stalking, please give this video a thumbs up and subscribe for more detailed true crime content. I cover cases that others won't touch, always with respect for the victims and their families. Thank you for watching, and remember, if you see something, say something. Brooklyn's life might have been saved if someone had recognized the warning signs and intervened. Stay safe out there, and I'll see you in the next one.